like, you're like, it's like when the Hulk is transforming into the Hulk, when Bruce Banner is getting ready to transform into the Hulk, that like bit before he actually transformed, but he's just like so like riddled and like that's how I feel right now. Why do I feel this way? About 3 weeks ago, I had a kidney stone. I've had them before. This was my third. However, this was definitely my most intense experience. Probably the biggest. I knew it was there because I had been going to urologists before. So the day rolls around, I wake up, I get out of bed, and immediately I'm like, that was weird. And it feels like an intense back muscle spasm, just like, and I was like, oh, okay. And then I went to the bathroom, and then I was like, oh, okay. And I immediately knew what it was, because I had remember that pain. And it was on my left side, so I was like, it's the kidney stone. So I wake Garrett up, and I'm like, we need to go to the emergency room. But at the point I wake him up, I like can't stand up. I'm like doubled over. I can't talk because it's so much pain. They say kidney stone pain is worse than labor pains. They come in waves, but it's like a constant wave. But it's such an intense, stabbing, like horrific back spasm pain that I couldn't breathe. So while I was talking to him, I sound like I'm having a panic attack because I'm really out of breath. And I'm like, we need to go to the emergency room. It's a kidney stone. And I'm like shaking and I'm sweating. I'm dripping in sweat. I'm not even really hot, but it's summer here. We don't have central air, but I'm like dripping. And I've never been like dripping in sweat. Like I get like sweaty and like sticky, but like not like visible like droplets. I'm like dripping in sweat, and I think that was the point where Garrett was like, oh God, this is serious, because he like went and put his hand on my back and was like, oh geez. So we get he's getting ready to kind of drive me to the emergency room, and my pain is just getting worse. And at this point, it's like so much pain, you get really delirious. This video is so long, I'm so sorry. You get really delirious. So I was like, we need an ambulance. I can't wait. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. We live in LA. I was like, I can't sit in traffic. I need to get there now. And so he's like, no, calm down. Like, it's okay. Like, just come on. Let's get in the car. Let's go. And I'm like, no, I cannot imagine sitting down. And in my head, I was like, if I get an ambulance, maybe in the ambulance, they can give me something for the pain. So that's where my rational thinking was going. Like, I'll be with doctors so they can like do something. And so I'm just like, I'm calling 911. So I call 911, and they show up, and this is going to turn into like mental health stigma story. So they show up, and there were 2 younger gentlemen, and one of them was a douche magoosh. He walks in, and I open the door for them because our apartment's a little confusing to find sometimes. Look, he's sleeping. And I'm like, I'm right here. And I'm like doubled over, and I'm like, I'm right here. And he goes, oh, you're standing. And I'm like, yeah, can we? And they like take me in, and he's like, oh, you can walk. And I was just like, I can't, I'm having a kidney stone. And they're like, okay, well, like, sit down. So they sit me on the couch here, and they're asking me information while they're taking my vitals. And the topic comes up of like, what medications do you have? And I mentioned that I have Xanax that I take as needed for anxiety and panic attacks. And he goes, oh, well, have you taken your Xanax today? And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And I get his logic because I sounded very out of breath and I was really anxious, but that's another sign of kidney stones. Like, you can't sit still, like you pace, and you're really anxious, like you're trying to get comfortable, but you can't because the pain is so much. So you're very like all over the place. And I was like, no, like this isn't a panic attack. Like, I'm having a kidney stone. And he's just like, how do you know? And I was like, I was going to urologist. Like, I've seen the CAT scans. Like, I have a 5 millimeter kidney stone. It's on the left side. That's where my pain is. It's the kidney stone. And he was just like, well, why weren't you getting it taken? I was like, that's neither here or there. Here we are, like, oh my God, just take me to the hospital. And then he's like, are you sure you want us to take you? Because this is an emergency, so we're gonna get there as fast as like your boyfriend would get there. And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, you could give me oxygen, maybe something, hook me up to an IV, get me fluids, I'll be with doctors. But then in my head, but I'm like, but at least I'll be admitted faster because I'm gonna be in an ambulance versus just like driving to the ER, having to park, having to walk from parking to the ER. So I was like, no, you're taking me. So they finally take me, but they're acting very blasé about it. Like the other guy is a little nicer, but like the guy who's decided in his head that I'm having a panic attack is very blasé. We get to the emergency room, and again, he's telling the nurses how I have anxiety and I haven't taken my Xanax today, but it might be a kidney stone. And I'm just like, it's a kidney stone. I've had them before. Like, ugh. So whatever. I get admitted. Long story short, I'm over there overnight. They put in a stent, which was awful. They send me home to try to pass the stone with the stent. My body feels like it's rejecting the stent. I can't get comfortable. They didn't send me home with painkillers. So I'm like, no. And so I go back to the ER because something was wrong. And like, I just couldn't get comfortable, and I was pacing and like hysterical. They keep me again for 2 nights, because they think the stone isn't passing. So they're going to do another like procedure and go in and zap the stone. They go in to zap the stone and they can't find it. So they don't know if I passed it somewhere along the line or I passed it while they were doing the procedure. I was like, there's no pocket it can be like hiding, right? And they were like, yeah, it's not there. So that was that. They send me home. Now, kidney stones are so, God, this video is so long. I'm sorry. If you're still watching this, thumbs up. So intense pain. And I haven't dealt with this with my other kidney stones that I have had, but I've been having intense anxiety now. Like a fear that it's going to happen again. Any sort of twinge or like pain I feel in my lower abdomen or my back, it practically sends me into a panic attack. I'm really anxious going to work because it takes a pretty far commute from where I live, LA, and I'm there for so long, 9 hours a day because work, but then I'm like gone for more like 10 to 12 hours because LA, and it's hard for me to leave the house. It's hard for me to be in the apartment alone because I just freak out that I'm gonna have like another attack. And I know logically it's very irrational because like when the attack happened, I knew exactly what to do. Even if Garrett hadn't been here to like support, I called 911 myself. Like I told them to come get me, and I went with them in the ambulance, and once I was in the ambulance I was in the hospital. So, and like it was fine, and I was able to like handle it, like whatever. You kind of go into like, I guess, survival mode. So I was just like focused, and you're at the hospital so they can give you Xanax when you're anxious, and they can give you all the medicines. And I guess being in the hospital, I felt anxiety-wise, I felt safer because I was there, and like you have a button and you press the button and the nurse comes in and you can tell her all your ailments and they're like, here's some drugs. So in my brain I was like, that's like safe. And so here, like obviously like I don't have that, and I'm by myself, and it's just very scary. I'm getting emotional now. And it's hard because I don't know why, because I know logically that I've been through it. I've been through the worst. I mean, I guess what scares me is on the CAT scan they did to find the big kidney stone, they saw that I had other kidney stones. But I guess like now I have like this huge just open. Like I'm just so scared of like anything health related now that I've like been to the emergency room. He's gonna try to knock something off there. Oh no, we're gonna sit there. And so I'm just paralyzed with fear. And it's really hard because as you know, like all over my Instagram, I'm so like, empower yourself and like, you are strong, and like, I get it, I am strong, I survived that whole ordeal. But I'm just so, like, I feel like a scared little child. Like, I'm just so riddled with fear and like slight PTSD, and I know that PTSD is a very strong word, so I don't want to use that, but that's like the closest thing I can compare it to, because I'm just so like, anything that's remotely close to that feeling, or remotely close to feeling like how I felt when I was on like the crazy like opioid painkillers, I like freak out. Like it just like, I'm like, oh my God, we need to go to the emergency room. And I do the check-in thing where I like sit with myself and I go, okay, how are you feeling? Do you really need to go to the hospital? And I'm like, no, it's just like I'm getting ahead of myself and my mind is spiraling. I am okay. I am fine. It's fine. Like, we're okay. It's not anything like I felt in the big incident. But like, it's so frustrating because like, I know these things logically, but my brain, or like my whatever subconscious mind, doesn't give an F that like makes sense logically. Like, I still like, I feel it here. Like, it gets really like, if you've ever had a panic attack, it feels like heavy, and you feel like slightly out of breath, and you just get that like flight or flight. But except there's like nowhere for me to flight to. Like, I'm already home, and that's what sucks, is like, home used to be the safe place, but I think, God damn it. But I think that now, because that I had the attack here, I like associate, thank you, Lupin, I associate the apartment with that like scariness. So I'm like scared to be alone here, and I think like that's part of it. And that's sad, because it's like, home is supposed to be your happy place. Like, what the heck? And what's also frustrating is there's nothing on YouTube about kidney stone anxiety. So that's why I'm making this video. So if you made it this far and you're watching this because you suffer it too, I totally feel you. There's all these things about kidney stones and experiences, but if you're anxious like I am about just feeling them, I don't recommend watching those, because I tried that and it like freaked me out. But so it's like, what, like, I feel like I'm going crazy. Like, I feel like I'm a crazy person, because I'm like, I'm okay. Like, I'm not in that much pain. Like, what the heck is going on? But I'm like, I freak out, and I just, I don't want to rely on my Xanax, so I'm not taking it unless it's like absolutely necessary. But yeah, so I don't really know the point of this. This was just a catch up, and like, for anybody else out there that's suffering from kidney stone anxiety, I want to say that I feel you, and I know what it's like. I'm in the same boat. So if you have any tips or tricks for kidney stone anxiety, or like any health issues, I feel like this is a health issue, anxiety, where like, if you had something traumatic health-wise happen, no, don't make a guest appearance, that this is like common after that, comment it below. And I'm sorry that this is so long, but I don't really want to edit anything out, because I feel like it's important. So that's my video.